Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has called an emergency caucus meeting for next Wednesday as the government looks to fast-track measures to ease the burden of cost of living. Joining me now is former Minister in the Howard Government and Bondi Partners Senior Advisor Peter McGauran. Peter, good morning. How are you?
Excellent, Tim.
You had your crystal ball out a few weeks ago and you said cost of living, cost of living, cost of living. That's what it's all going to be about. Boom. Well done.
It was self-evident, I suspect, to everybody except Prime Minister Albanese and his government. By the way, during the year, and this is where the Prime Minister gets exasperated, is he believes they have addressed the cost of living issue.
Do you think they have?
Yes, to a point. They've increased wages in the aged care sector. They've increased the minimum wage. They've provided electricity relief. They've provided childcare relief. But there's no narrative, Tim. He's not seen as the champion of ordinary Australians tackling the cost of living crisis. Somehow, because of the Voice referendum and his overseas trips, he seems detached. So it's all very well having these measures, but if they're one-offs, the media lose interest, the caravan moves along, and he's not left with an image, or he hasn't got any credit for it.
That's what he needs to do. The narrative twist needs to happen, doesn't it? Because a lot of Australians are thinking, why did we spend all this money on the referendum that didn't work? Yeah, it's an easy narrative, but it's not that easy to twist around. And obviously, they're on the front foot here. This is much about functioning work as politicians as it is PR.
Correct. I'd hate to know what their polling's showing them, because to call the caucus back in this way, it's very dramatic. We'll get the headlines. The Prime Minister will come out of that meeting with some commitments. He can't come out and say, well, it was just a talk fest. Mind you, I can already write the script for the opposition along those lines. So it'll be fascinating, but they are clearly fully aware that their political fortunes are deteriorating. We won't know for sure until we get the first couple of polls, but it's possible. It's possible, Tim, it's too late, and that Australians already have an entrenched view of the Prime Minister. But he still has time, and he's got the resources or the levers of government, and he's exercising them by calling the caucus together.
But as a nemesis, Peter Dutton's still not a retail politician. He's got a long way to go before he's going to be honestly perceived as the next leader of this country.
Understand and agree, but don't underestimate him. And I think Labor's waking up that they can't. On this cost of living issue, he's championing ordinary Australians. He's championing the cultural conservatism. He's framing himself. He says he's for the workers, striving, working families, middle class. He's honing in on housing unaffordability. He hasn't yet got a strategy for the teals. I don't think you can out-teal the teals. I think he's got to go negative on them. He's got to run hard campaigns against them, and he's got to get good candidates across the board. So he's got a power of work to do, but at least he's emerging with an identity. Australians don't yet have a sense of identity with Anthony Albanese.
Let's go to the drama series that is US politics. No great surprises in Iowa. We thought Donald Trump would win. He spent the rest of the week in court.
Yes, and that was only a civil defamation case, Tim. He's still got the 4 criminal trials with a combined 93 charges. Now, will he get through 93 charges? Can anybody beat 93 criminal charges? Well, he might, because they're juries, and people on juries, you only need one to find in his favour. So that's the risk on the horizon, and that's why Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley, if she can, and I doubt if she can, will stay in the race in case Donald Trump is barred because of a criminal conviction. Otherwise, Donald Trump will be the Republican nominee. There's nothing more certain.
And an article this morning saying that Donald Trump could be Joe Biden's best chance.
Yes, see, this is the dilemma. Biden cannot win against any Republican candidate, such as Nikki Haley or Ron DeSantis, but he can win against Donald Trump. And in fact, there's a widespread belief that Biden believes he's the only one who can beat Trump, and that's why he's running again. And make of that what you will.
It's an extraordinary story to watch from the sidelines, but Nikki Haley does need to win New Hampshire. She really does. I mean, she's close, but doesn't win there and out of the running unless, as you say, something happens in a courtroom which is going to just sort of vault someone up into that position. Now, back to Australian politics. Penny Wong's trip, what did you make of it?
She diminished the potential for her trip, which was pretty limited, Tim. It's a war zone, and Australia is not a player in the Middle By refusing to go to the site of the initial invasion, massacre of 1,200 Israelis in the most barbarous of circumstances. The Israelis weren't going to take her very seriously after that, to the extent she did have any influence. Because unless you first condemn Hamas, and Penny Wong does in diplomatic language, but it's a little guarded, as diplomats tend to be, she had to show the raw emotion, the unqualified condemnation of Hamas. And it meant that she didn't have either the access or the influence that the government rightly wanted to have on Israel. Then she grants $21.5 million to the Hamas, not to the Hamas, to the refugee relief, and then she condemns the Israeli settlers on the West Bank, disputed areas. So
in a report card, you're not giving an A+?
No, it was a failure, I'm afraid. But look, the chances of it moving the dial in any way or being a success were pretty remote anyway.